Welcome back to the Blindside Blitz, the show that hits you with all the biggest stories from across the NFL before you even see them coming. I'm your host, Jim McPhee, and today we've got a stacked lineup. We'll be talking with Rodrik David, founder of Right Step Advising and host of Scouting the League podcast, and he'll be breaking down player development, team strategy, and what's next for some of the league's biggest names. Then we're diving into a wild week of football once again, and the Buffalo Bills getting steamrolled by the Miami Dolphins. Who saw that coming in a double-digit loss? The New York Giants are finally parting ways with head coach Brian Daboll. What does that mean? And also the big buzz around Joe Burrow's potential return to the Cincinnati Bengals. Is it too soon or just in time to save their season? Stick around, because at the end of today's episode, we'll tell you which struggling team could actually shock the league before the season's over. This is the Blindside Blitz. Let's get into it. All right, what's going on, everybody? That's right, I am Jim McPhee, and I am joined now by my co-host, Joe DeCapita. Joe,
what's going on, Blitz Nation? It's great to be back, baby. Listen, you know what time it is. We're going to be diving into some football topics. We're going to be talking about everything around the sport. But before we get to that, I got to remind you, if you haven't done so already, do us a huge favor. Help us grow this channel. Head over to Grumblings Media. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, while you're there, don't forget, hit those thumbs up. Let's YouTube know that we're worthy of more viewers. And don't forget to tell a friend to tell a friend. That's right. Share the word and spread it around. Jimmy, I'm excited for this episode, bro. We got one of our homies, if you will, David in the house, former NFL stuff, and we're so happy to have you back on, Rod.
Always good to be here. It's always good to not be the only bald one on a podcast. Coming strong.
Amen, brother.
Should I go in the middle and bounce it out a little bit, maybe, or we're good?
No, we stick together.
Awesome, Rodrik. Yeah, plenty of stuff going on in the NFL right now, and we could talk about a bunch of different teams, about the scouting coming up, moving forward. Joe, let's get right into it. What you got, buddy?
Yeah, so, I got to start off. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. We were talking about the Indianapolis Colts and, like, how the ascension that they've been on has been out of this world. I was surprised to see that up to this point, one of the best teams in football with Daniel Jones at quarterback, mind you. Rodrik, I got to ask you, we've asked this to our other guests, but, for the Indianapolis Colts right now, at this point in the season, are they really for real? Or do you suspect maybe they might stumble on their feet down towards the end of the season?
No, again, I like this team. This is a good team, a well-coached team. Again, when I look at teams that that are going to be in it for the long term, it's been a consistent team up to this point. Number one, they can run the ball. Maybe MVP candidate Jonathan Taylor. That offensive line has been consistent. Again, you would fully expect that from a Shane Steichen coach team. Chris Ballard, again, everybody was ready to send him packing once the Anthony Richardson stuff came out in the preseason. But again, he has a good roster. They go for it with Sauce Gardner. Again, you've got a Rookie of the Year candidate in the tight end Tyler Warren, and a defense that is getting after it. And again, when you're playing from ahead, it always makes your defense a little bit better from a pass rush standpoint. Those guys are elevating. This is a good, consistent team. And again, we want to drag Daniel Jones through the mud. This wouldn't be the first team he's taken to the playoffs. Again, it was Brian Daboll and the Giants not that long ago with the big upset at the playoffs. And again, he's a good quarterback playing within the offense. Doing good things, just kind of managing it. He's a start-win type quarterback in this league. Don't put too much on his shoulders, and that's really what he's done most this year so far. So I think they're for real, and I expect him to be right there come playoff time. If you get to the playoffs, you get a chance.
Absolutely, and it goes to show you too. You get the right quarterback to fit the formula, and there you go, and see what the success you could have. You talk about the Indianapolis Colts though too. I think one of the other teams that's really turning heads is Mike Macdonald and what he's doing there in Seattle. Defensive-minded coach. I know a lot of teams and franchises out there, when they're looking for that head coach, they're really looking for that shiny new toy in the offense and who's running it so well and fast. And that's a lot to put on that head coach's job when you're running the offense and trying to run the team as well. But Mike Macdonald over there, he's got Clint Kubiak as his offensive coordinator. Sam Darnold looking great too. A lot of people thought that maybe that was going to be a down year for him this year. How do you feel about the team and what really is the leading to their success?
Yeah, again, the head coach in addition to being whatever they are as a coordinator, offensive or defense, there are so many other things that they're responsible for. And again, the systems that Mike Macdonald came up through, again, when you talk about, the kind of the beacon of stability in the NFL in Baltimore, again, and Coach Harbaugh, who didn't have a side of the ball, but was involved with everything. Again, got a really good firsthand view of that. Of course, Mike was under the other Harbaugh, and again, saw high level leadership. And the thing with a defensive head coach, and I actually just, on a podcast this week talked about it, if you better have a plan to who's going to succeed, Clint Kubiak, because he's going to have opportunities to be a head coach. He's obviously getting the most out of Sam Darnold. Again, 2 years now, good Sam Darnold. We'll see come playoff team, which is, again, the Vikings are just, circling that at the end of the year. Hey, we saw them look really good for a lot of the year. You got to do it at the end of the year. But again, they've got two good running backs. That defense is playing really well. Now they're in a really tough division. They're going to have to finish strong to make sure they're in a good spot. But again, Mike Macdonald pushing all the right buttons, has a pulse of that team. They're in a really good spot. And again, a team that defense is always going to show up, and he's got them playing really well.
Yeah, I mean, we'll take that, and we're going to head over to the AFC North here with this one. Listen, that's a little bit, now it's a little murkier. This division, is starting to kind of pull apart, and now it's gotten a little muddier there to trying to figure out that division. But the Cincinnati Bengals right now, the whole circus and everything that was transpiring in the offseason, it all kind of, the dust settled. They signed Joe Burrow. They signed T. Higgins. They signed Jamar Chase. It's all well and good now. Trey Hendrickson, they made a little happy this season with giving a little bit of a bonus. But then the injury to Joe Burrow kind of derailed the season, at least initially. Having a different quarterback now for a trade, Joe Flacco in the stripes, looking good in the games. Now Joe Burrow is on the timetable to come back. Seems like he's going to return in 2 or 3 weeks. What do you think, Rodrik? Do you think if Joe Burrow returns, is it too soon for one? And for two, could they possibly save their season and make it to the playoffs?
Yeah, again, if Joe Burrow comes back, and I've got full faith and trust that, again, Duke Tobin, that crew, they're not going to put him on the field if he's not ready, can't protect himself, or they're risking further injury. Again, he's too valuable. They're not going to do that. So the fact that he is where he is in his progression, again, that's a great sign. I would like to think that maybe a lack of mobility could actually improve the offense. Obviously, Joe Flacco is not running around doing a whole lot of stuff, but getting the ball out, getting it to weapons, again, that can be a nice reset for Joe Burrow, who, again, the age-old arm of Joe Flacco is not dying. That arm is going to probably be thrown like that at 50. Joe Burrow, I am sure, is learning something from Joe Flacco. So, again, resetting in the offense. If they're in a spot, again, as I said, you get to the playoffs, you got a chance. And again, you catch fire at the right time. We've seen 6, 7 seeds. We've seen 6 seeds. I don't know if we've seen a 7th seed make the run yet. 6 seeds, again, get into the playoffs, make their run. Again, get hot at the right time. Get Shamar Stewart going opposite of Trey Hendrickson. Get him healthy. Get that offensive line settled in there. Again, this is not going to surprise me at all when all of a sudden the Bengals in a division that had really high expectations, but at this point, it's one of those divisions where nobody looks great, but around the NFL, you don't want to play anybody in the AFC North. Again, even with a down year, you don't want to see the Browns because you got Myles Garrett, and nobody wants to play Myles Garrett. You're going to play bully ball in Baltimore. Pittsburgh, all this, again, Aaron Rodgers can get hot, and that's always going to be a Pittsburgh brand of football. Again, it's a division nobody wants to play, and at this point, again, Bengals get hot, they could be the team. Again, really, you could stick them all in a hat. Again, maybe Cleveland's too far out of it. Now, you still don't want to play them. They're still too far out of it, but you got 3 teams that, again, could get hot. Who's going to be the team? Joe Burrow being the spark could certainly be that for the Bengals.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, a couple teams this year, we've looked at them and said, hey, they just need to do this. That was the big question for them at the beginning of the season. And lo and behold, mid-season now, we still have that same, like, you didn't do it. You didn't change it. You didn't fix it. You are who you were before. After all it's said and done, again, and now you've got another injured Joe Burrow. Sticking with that division here, and you talked about Cleveland. First of all, I'm going to add another question. I'm here. Sorry, Joe, but have you ever seen a contender within your division trade a quarterback, your starting quarterback, to another team, to like Cincinnati?
Yeah, I mean, that was a remarkable situation. Again, considering not just again, everybody knows who Joe Flacco is at this point, but for him
Right.
to go again, I don't think anybody expected him to go to Cincinnati and do what he's doing. Again,
True.
credit to the personnel on the offensive side. Again, they just got to stop somebody every once in a while on defense. I think like Al Golden, they'll get it figured out there, down the stretch here. But again, that's the one side of it. Nobody expected Joe Flacco to do this, but again, if you talk about a head, just continued question marks at the quarterback spot with what Cleveland did, taking 2 in the draft. Again, you've got Deshaun Watson you've just got all these questions there. And then the guy that is now in your division that looks good is the guy you chose to trade away. Again, it's the Cleveland Browns for you in your current state. So again, nothing should surprise us there.
All right, to piggyback into another question there, which was going to be my original question though too, is now that they've done that, they moved on, they've given the reins to Dylan Gabriel so far. It's been a rough patch. I think he's doing okay, but he's a rookie. He's getting started in here. Like you talked about that Myles Garrett in the defense. Do you suspect or do you think it is a good time to possibly look at Shedeur Sanders too within this year? Or do you ride it out with Dylan Gabriel, have them still maybe compete next year and then take a look next year and wait it out?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one because, again, with both of these guys, and with Dylan Gabriel, you feel like you have a lot more of a known. Again, going into the scouting process, he was much more of a known. Again, a guy that's been in college a long time, a lot cleaner off the field. You felt really good about the person. It was just really a question for scouts. What kind of trait level, what kind of talent can he bring to the field? Again, they're not a loaded up offense, certainly haven't looked like it to where they're having to ask him to do more than he is probably capable. With Shedeur, I truly do not believe he has either shown enough in the meeting room or the practice field to warrant that shot. He needs time. And again, it always goes back. I think there are plenty of blueprints for letting a future starter sit for at least a year, maybe 2 years to someday give him that shot. Well, again, whether that's with Stefanski, whether that's with the front office there, again, that remains to be seen. Again, it's a win this week league. As much as we like to go, hey, build for the future. The season's done. You still go out there and try to win every week, and an NFL team is going to put the guy under center that gives them the best chance to win this week. And again, at this point, I still think that's got to be Dylan Gabriel because he's the one they're trotting out there.
Yeah. I mean, speaking about the best chance to win every week, we got a rookie race on our hands. We got guys that have been drafted that are looking up for their team, that are even starting on a lot of teams. Guys like Emeka Ibuka, Tyler Warren, Jackson Dart, to name a few. There's a lot of exciting younger talent now in this league. And Rodrik, I got to ask you, with this race going on, is there one guy that you feel confident at this point in the season, or are there a few that we still got to figure out as we get closer to the end of the year?
Yeah. No, again, the two guys you named right off the bat, Ibuka and Tyler Warren, are certainly looking really good. Tyler Warren, huge part of that Colts success. He's been a big part of that offense. Again, makes that, it until this last couple of weeks when Colston Loveland has really started to break out, that's made that head-scratching pick a little, come to balance a little bit more. But again, Tyler Warren has been really good, really solid. Obviously, Ibuka, he's been the really kind of one consistent guy in that Tampa offense. His other guys have been, on and off the field, again, kind of doing, again, pretty much what he did at Ohio State when he was the number 2 or 3 wide receivers. Hey, I've got a good matchup and I'm going to get open. So he's done really good things. Again, Ashton Janty, guy we talk about a lot, he's shown why he was drafted where he is. Again, that's the team that they are struggling so much in quarterback. They're trying to get everything figured out, where there have been plenty of good flashes where, hey, he's going to figure it out. Abdul Carter, again, you talk to that Giants team. Again, he is impacting the game. The production hasn't come, but again, he's impacting the game. Jackson Dart, again, if he stayed healthy, if he stopped ending up in the blue tent, he may end up edging out that, Rookie of the Year award just because he's a quarterback and he gets, every award seems to be a quarterback award. But again, it's going to be tough for him to stay healthy, stylistically, the way he's playing. Again, for all these rookies, you want to see that trending arrow in the right direction. You want to see it continue to get better throughout the season, which, again, looking at this rookie class, again, you've got the ups and downs. Again, it's always going to come with rookies. The teams that are more successful, asking less of their rookies. Again, you feel better about those guys. Again, it's hard to write the story on him. Again, Tyler Boyd, again, he's got to be the guy that I'd be like, hey, this guy, he absolutely looks like the real deal. He's doing a lot in that offense. And again, you get through, again, you got Jalen Walker, who's impacting the game more and more. You got a consistent starter, Gray Zabel, out in Seattle. Like, you've got a bunch of really good players. Again, one of my favorite picks of the first round, Donovan Jackson, maybe going to help stabilize that Minnesota offensive line. Again, all the way down. We saw Jihad Campbell play, lights out in that Eagles defense last night against Green Bay. And then with the last pick, you got Josh Simmons, who, get him back on the field, he looked really good. You just got to figure out all the rest of the stuff. So it's been a good rookie class so far. A lot of good players that are playing. And again, that's not even to mention, Travis Hunter's season cut short. Will Campbell starting and playing good for a New England team that's really solid. So again, a lot to like about this rookie class.
I don't think I've seen a rookie class play like this in a while, though, too. I mean, with so many good players and making such a good case for themselves for a rookie of the year, too.
Yeah. Wide open races. It's good.
Yeah, one other thing that I really wanted to touch on, Rodrik, is even though there's Rookie of the Year awards, there's MVP race, there's all these awards out there. How should people view each award in terms of the players that are going for each one? Like, should they be really honing in on the statistics of the player, or should they be looking at the importance of that player to said team, or a combination of both?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one because, again, all these awards are statistic awards. They become, again, who has the biggest splash plays that are fun to put up, and again, that garners a lot of attention. Again, that was, Will Campbell at LSU. He had a lot of really good, solid snaps. Now, again, you can always go cherry pick the snaps where he got beat, because his traits were not quite where some of the, again, only speaking top 5, top 10 type offensive tackles. Guess what's happening in New England? A lot of really good, solid, consistent play in that offense with some snaps that you're like, yes, like, he is going to struggle on an island against the top rushers in the NFL. Guess what? Josh McDaniels knows how to game plan that. And again, all of a sudden they're sitting here at 7-2. So again, Will Campbell's not going to be in any of those conversations, and yet I fully expect New England to get to the end of the year and feel really good about their future at left offensive tackle. Again, Armand Mambu with the Jets. Again, save for everything else going wrong in New York, you feel like he has locked that spot down. We're good there. We don't have to address that position for at least 3 to 4 years. Hopefully you're resigning that player. And again, that's at the end of the day. If you like all these offensive linemen, all these guys that are going to get forgot about with the awards, they're going to be the good, solid players now into the future. Again, Ashton Janty's probably going to fit that mold because of just the way the Raiders have looked this year. The stories out on on Cam Ward, on Travis Hunter, just because of the way their seasons have gone. Travis getting hurt, but again, you've got Tyler Booker, you've got Kenneth Grant, you've got some of these guys that are doing the work in the trenches, playing good, solid starter snaps. That is what teams ultimately want to feel good about their futures.
Yeah, I mean, Rodrik, are we ever going to see an offensive lineman win it? Like Rookie of the Year, something like, I mean, I would love to give some love to the big men, but I don't think it's going to happen either.
Loved it, but no.
Yeah, right. Now, especially nowadays, right? Man, I know. And you talk about such these good rookie players. You talked about Jackson Dart, what he's doing and what he means to the New York Giants and what they have done so far this year. But ultimately, they've looked really good at times. Again, until the fourth quarter shows up, right? And then all of a sudden, they turn into a completely different team. Soft zone, and they've given up a couple of different, just multiple fourth quarter comebacks. The clock was ticking on Brian Daboll. They finally throw the hammer down. They fire him, but Joe Schoen stays on in the board. What's your feeling on that? And do you think he's justified for keeping him around?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at what Joe Schoen has done, again, it was a little bit surprising to me coming into this year. I would have said they're connected, right? Again, you see it a lot of time, the head coach and the GM, they're going to go together. It's what happened in Atlanta. Thomas Dimitroff, Dan Quinn fired together. It happens more often than not. But with the way this first round for the Giants shaped up, for the Maras typically a more patient franchise, more patient ownership group. The fact that, hey, this draft class looked pretty good. Now, again, we're going to see plenty of the clips behind the scenes and, throwing shade at Joe Shane for not being a Jackson Dart guy. But again, a lot of guys contributing. Again, before Cam Scatterbo gets hurt, looked like, again, he is going to run through a brick wall and he's going to get hurt. Again, nobody, I don't think anybody's surprised stylistically, but Abdul Carter, you hit on that pick. They've got a number of guys from this class. If you get rid of the last 2-3 classes, again, solid starters who are contributing. Obviously, you lose Malik Neighbors. Personnel-wise, they liked the roster. They started to see some positives with the roster, which is, I think, ultimately why the Maras did what they did. Again, does he get through the end of the year? Again, I believe this is where the Maras and good franchises are going to give their front office, their GM. Again, it's not like, hey, your job is here to stay. It's going to be weekly meetings. What's your plan? What is the process going to be for a head coach? What are you going to be looking at from a roster and personnel decision, as soon as the season's done, to free agency and beyond? And that is basically, if you want to call it the next 3-month interview for Joe Shane to keep your job as we get to the end of December. If the Maras don't like it, if the Maras don't like the plan, if he's not convicted by it, again, then you can make that move still. But again, he's given the chance now at this point to sell us on your plan, have a plan ready to go, keep your job, hire the next head coach, and see where it all goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, being a Giants fan, I'm along for the ride. We'll see what happens. You know what I mean? But a decade of losing and what we've seen, I'm used to this story by now, but we'll see. I'm just still hoping for the future. Talk about the future, though, too. We've got multiple teams that are at the bottom of the barrel here in the NFL right now that are still have question marks about their quarterback. Even the Arizona Cardinals are popping up now to where people are considering that they might just move on from, Kyler Murray. I know it's kind of close and it's even kind of early now with these quarterbacks in college right now, but do you see, in your opinion, any of these quarterbacks that are worth drafting high in the first round?
I said it actually earlier today. None of these current quarterbacks that I have seen have the traits on film to be first round players. I expect some guys to be drafted in the 20s. Again, at the end of the day, I think somebody gets drafted there at the top of the first round. But again, as I'm watching the guys, again, Nussmeier's gotten benched. He's got good traits. He's got good level traits, and that's about it. You've got the kid out at Oregon, Dante Moore, who has looked good. Again, everything says he's going back to school. Again, some inconsistent football. I think he's a good level trait player. Again, the best traits of them all, Lenora Sellers. You've got a lot of Anthony Richardson type stuff there. Flash plays, huge arm. Again, South Carolina is not going anywhere fast this year. You've got Fernando Mendoza, who I think may have kind of the lowest ceiling of these traits. Again, he's playing good football from the pocket, getting in Indiana to win. But again, does he have next level traits? I think it's always going to be a little bit limited. And then the guy that, for me, has the best chance is Ty Simpson. We just need more snaps. Again, I think coming into 2025, he had thrown 22 passes in his first couple of years down in Tuscaloosa. Again, obviously, you start out with a clunker against Florida State, but he plays football from the pocket. I think he hurries some reads at times. I think he's got good level traits. I don't think there's a guy that just jumps off film in terms of what he does with accuracy, arm strength, touch down the field, or athleticism. Again, Lenora Sellers would be the exception there. But again, I don't think anybody's drafting him in the first round. So again, for me, if I'm out on the road scouting one of these players, there is not a quarterback I have a first or arguably second round grade on. That, again, third round quarterbacks get pushed up to the first round. That is just the way the nature of the quarterback position is. But again, I don't have a first or second round grade on any of these quarterbacks that are expected to be in this 2026 draft.
Well, there you go. Just as Joe suspected as well. There you go. Rodrik David, Right Step Advising, Scouting the League podcast. Again, if people don't know yet, Rodrik, you got to tell these guys, you got to inform them what were they waiting for? You got to tell them about Right Step Advising and what you do there.
Yeah. So again, I consult, I do everything I can in the football world. I work with a lot of agents. I do player reports. I got the full-time podcast as well. Again, peeling back the curtain. Again, that's what I love to do. It's one of the most underappreciated professions in all of sport are scouts, area scouts, regional, national, pro scouts. Again, I've been in both spots. I was on the Midwest. I did all the big Midwest, Big Ten schools, spent time pro scouting. I was actually at the AFC Championship back in 2017, had the Pittsburgh Steelers beaten the New England Patriots in that AFC Championship. I would have been doing that advanced scouts. Again, I like to peel the curtain back, let people know what really happens, ask the questions that are being asked in the building, let them know. Again, easy to throw darts and throw shade from behind a Twitter screen, and again, we do it sometimes. We bring it up. It's part of what makes it's the ever-ending double-edged sword. The media, the love of football is what has made football so good. But again, if I can educate people, I do stuff for current scouts, for former scouts, for aspiring scouts, anything from a football standpoint. All of it's over at Right Step Advising. RSAfootball.com is my website. Scouting the League podcast is out there everywhere you can get podcasts, Monday through Friday, whether it's our short format episodes, long format Wednesday. Everything I do, again, hopefully help scouts out there and help people understand how scouting works.
Excellent. Well, you definitely help us out. That's where we get our information. Hey, let it out. There's a secret, everybody. We listen to this guy all the time. We drop the knowledge on you from him himself. He loves to join the show. We love to have him too as well. Rodrik, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be talking to you soon in a couple of weeks or so, probably, buddy. But thank you so much for joining us.
Awesome. Enjoy it, guys.
All right. See you. All right. There you go. Rodrik David. Right Step Advising, Scouting the League podcast. You got to check it out, guys. Seriously, man. What are you guys waiting for? Joe, how's it going, buddy? What's you doing? You all right there? I know you're kind of pixelated here and there now, but you're still alive, buddy. I lost him. No, I guess he's not. He's trying to find things out. So, yeah, it's always a good time Rodrik comes on, man. He really gives you the inside scoop. He's talked to us about the Bengals and the inside and with the woes that they've dealt with before with the scouting department and stuff. It's not just, a team not knowing what they're doing. They see what needs to be done. They try and get the clientele that they need to get it done, the personnel to get it done. And, they're still trying to make these moves and trying to compete. Look at the teams here with the Bengals. They started out, had a couple of good wins early on, but the rest of the division hasn't really kept up and taken that chance, taken that leap to move forward. And now they've opened up the 21-day window with Joe Burrow and the potential for him to come back come playoff time if they're still in the mix. Now, see, the thing is with that division and with it being so close, all they have to do is take the division, right? Division leaders still can get it, and they get that ticket into the playoffs, and that's all you need. It's an automatic reset. Playoff time, you're just 0-0 right now at this point. It's one and done, so do whatever you got to do to get it done. They just got to make it there. Punch your ticket to get in, and you're in. All right, Joe, punching your ticket back in the show. What's up, buddy? You hear me?
What's going on, bro?
There you are, buddy. I don't know. We got. We'll work something out. Where's William? We got to work something out. Get Joe some better internet somewhere or something. I don't know. Get this guy some boost. Work that into the
really
works.
Good internet. That's
what's going on
right now? It's full bars still. It was
Easy,
through the whole damn interview and everything. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe the internet gods do not like me. They want to shut me down.
Perhaps.
But I'm back.
Too much baldness on one show at one time.
Right.
They had to pixelate one of you guys. Like, we got to miss this up.
It's too much lighting.
Too much baldness.
Too much lighting going on.
My goodness. All right. So I filled it in. I'm sure I probably said enough that you probably would have said as well. Rodrik, always good when he comes in, fills the knowledge. Too much, because when you start talking to him too, and you just want to ask more. That's what I mean. I had more questions to go. I'm like, dude, I could just do this all day.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, even as he was talking, like I added a couple more questions I didn't intend to ask. And, as you talk, when you talk football with a football guy, like a guy especially a guy that's been there, done that, who's been in the trenches, so to speak, in the front office, who's been a scout for teams, you just want to know like some of the intricacies of running a team and what did he experience as a scout? Like, what are some of the stories that he has and just the absolute, crunching the numbers, how he goes about scouting players, what he looks for, what's a bad trait, what's a good trait. So yeah, it's always a blast having Rodrik on the show because we get to talk about every little thing in detail.
All right. Yeah, absolutely, Joe. So let's talk about all the things that are going around the league right now. The biggest stories, a lot of big stories. One of the latest here, we'll just get right into it. Rodrik talked about it a little bit here because I asked him what his thoughts about keeping Joe Shane on board, but Daboll fired here finally. At the New York Giants, we're watching these games, and it is frustrating because you see how well the team is playing. They're playing well. Quarterback's doing well. He's doing a lot of it all on his own though too. Very similar to what happens with Josh Allen, right? Put it all on his shoulders, making plays. Receivers dropping balls. They're just getting dumb penalties to bring things back, stuff like that. Penalties that have killed drives, and he's still fighting for it and keeping these guys in the game. And I think again, defense getting pressured. Brian Burns doing all he can on the defensive side. You have Dexter Lawrence, who's not really holding up his end of the bargain. Injuries in the secondary, but still the defense was doing okay and enough to win until it gets to crunch time, and then you give up the lead. And for me, that's a coaching thing.
You're right. It is a coaching thing, but I don't think this falls on Brian Daboll. They were looking for someone to blame for the recent failures of the Giants. Giants having storming off right away, getting leads, and then at the very end in the fourth quarter, they just seem to give everything up, and then they lose the games. The last 3 weeks, it's been a dismal, environment in New York, and they just needed someone to blame. Unfortunately, it falls on the head of Brian Daboll, and he ends up getting fired. Now, I don't know, but Brian Daboll's an offensive-minded coach. He doesn't work with he works with the defense a little bit in terms of game planning, but overall, he's an offensive guy. And for any blame to go around, it can't be on the offense because even though they too were going through injuries at the wide receiver position, obviously Malik Neighbors ain't going to be there for the rest of the season. They're still making things work. They're with Jackson Dart at the quarterback. That was the best decision made by Brian Daboll, and they ran with it, and they started to win some games, and then they got leads. So really, I think the fault should have been on the defensive coordinator. I think the D coordinator should have been fired at this point in the season. I understand everybody's frustrated. The owner's frustrated with Brian Daboll and whatever promises that he made and what have you. But really, the fault has to fall on the defense. They didn't stop those opponents at the very end to seal the win. And unfortunately, Brian Daboll, he gets the axe. He's out. Now there's going to be a vacancy there. And I know, Jim, you're super excited for the interim head coach, for Matt Kafka taking over.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I know.
That is one big pile of shit.
Because he's proven his point. Oh man. Yeah, I was actually talking to Jordan Ronan today too. And we were bringing up some of these things too. I'm like, man, it's a gloomy start again, buddy. Here we go. But Kafka, he was going to be he was supposed to be the scapegoat again. Yeah. And now here he is, handed the keys. But we are going to hand the keys over to our guy in the comment section, Mr. Mike Tackett.
What's going on, Mike?
Pleasure having him here. All right. He says, R.I.P. Paul Tagliabue. I remember his great effort for the NFL Europe before Goodell took it away from us. He was a pioneer in my youth and will be missed. Yeah, I remember those days too. Absolutely. And that's when I think it was growing. I understand what Goodell has done to media growth and kind of exploring it out into the world. But this guy had already kind of done that before, and then they tore it down, and now they're restarting again. And I think Mike could probably attest to this too. That's a big factor why I think Germany has such a good turnout, and they're so involved in games now in those international games. The crowds for Germany seems way more involved in the game than what, say London. London's just there having a good time. You got multiple jerseys of all types, some of the home team, but Germany, the diehards come out for that team, and then that's it. You know what I mean? And then it's like a home team, totally a home crowd for that team. They're electric.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, rest in peace, Paul Tagliabue. Was sad news, especially for the NFL and members of his family and friends. Another guy to bring up too is Marshawn Kneeland, very young Dallas Cowboy player, Marshawn Kneeland, who seemed to be doing well in Dallas and, getting his reps now finally this season as a pass rusher. But at 24 years old, I mean, I don't know what the guy was going through mentally. But it's such sad news that it comes to find out that the guy, or at least what's being reported, is that they think it's a suicide. They think that he took his own life, and it's still sad. I mean, the guy had the life in my eyes. You know what I mean? Like you never know what people are going through no matter what level of life. So, Marshawn Elam, rest in peace.
Yeah, absolutely. And while we're out there, I can't believe I haven't done this yet. Happy, Veterans Day to all of our veterans out there, saluting our
Okay,
veterans. We love to salute our veterans out there. Tons of family in the
absolutely,
military and stuff, and veterans all around us. So
absolutely.
if you did see them today, I hope you did say thank you for your service. And we love you guys. Thank you for giving us the freedom that we have to do what we're doing even right now,
Yeah,
Joe.
without them,
Yeah,
we
that's
wouldn't
right.
have
We would have
freedom
got shut down a long time
without them.
ago. Let me
So,
tell you that one.
yeah, we wouldn't even be able to do the show. I
Absolutely
mean,
not. And we wouldn't be able to do this show either
so
without Mr. William Del Pilar in the comments right now. I think I totally butchered that, but whatever. Jackson's Dart, designed versus scramble. Here he goes. One analysis suggests that Dart averages 3.25 designed runs per game and 2.5 scrambles per game. He's had concussion issues. Why keep designing runs for him? It shows how desperate Daboll is to win and was willing to sacrifice his young quarterback short term. And who knows? Again, but then also Kafka
I
was the one calling the plays here on this one. But he's your whole bread and butter, though. He's your whole offense at this point. You lose Scattaboo. You have average wide receivers at best right now, just because, again, Neighbors is down. You make it work for what works. But what's killing, Jackson Dart too is extending the plays, not going down when he should too as well. I mean, that's part of the factor there.
when it comes down to it, here's the crazy thing is I don't think it was a bad idea by designing runs for Jackson Dart.
No way.
Has he had a history of concussions in college?
Mhm.
For sure. But here's the caveat of that is the fact that Jackson Dart, if you're not utilizing his legs,
Yeah.
you're not utilizing him
Mhm.
as a football player because that's what he was in college. He was a dangerous passer as a quarterback, but also you had to be weary of his mobility with his legs. So you got to be able to use all his skill set to pull off some of these wins, and that's what was done. However, I gotta admit, part of the fault does have to get pointed at coaching as far as not as far as play calling, but as far as getting your player who honestly is a little stubborn at times to get him to slide before he takes a hit, to get him to run out of bounds before he gets tackled. Do not take unnecessary hits. It's going to happen
Mhm.
sometimes, but avoid it as much as possible. And we haven't seen that yet from Jackson Dart, avoiding the hits. I know you're young,
Mhm.
bro. We get it. You're young and full of
Yeah.
piss and vinegar and ready to take on the NFL world. But guess what? You will have a
Yeah.
short career if you don't change what you're doing on the
Yeah,
football.
absolutely, absolutely. Because yeah, again, I wish he would get down further too. Because again, you're making plays, but also some of it too. If you don't look at the concussion side, it's also costing the game too as well. Turnovers when they shouldn't be, extending the plays, much like we saw even with Josh Allen did this particular week against the Dolphins. Vel Williams says, "Thank you so much." No problem, William. Again, a veteran for us too as well. Thank you so much for your service, William.
You, my friend.
Absolutely. And Mike Tackett, again, absolutely. Germany's pro league there get 55,000 fans at their championship games. It's the Germans loves the football. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. I butchered that again. They just called me,
yeah.
they're going to call me McPhee the Butcher, I think, pretty soon on this show. I just butcher
You're gonna
everything, I'm the
You're
butcher.
good. You're good.
All right, so still just on the Giants point here, I almost wanted to bring it up to the fact to, Rodrik again, when we're talking about Mike McDonald, defensive-minded coach. If you get the right offense, you get other coaches behind you, get it going, you can make it
Mhm.
work. And one coach that they already had in-house to be head coach, interim coach before, but then they got rid of him after, again, a losing season. I feel like that could be a contender here, somebody they could be looking to into the next choice at head coach, and that's Steve Spagnuolo. He's doing wonders here and has with the Kansas City Chiefs here in that defense and what they've done. They have all the pieces, like,
Yeah.
when Roderick's talking about the pieces that they have and what Joe Shane has had positive, they have pieces around
Right.
here so he can really, I think, tune in this defense. I don't think they're going to go cloud defense, prevent at the end, give up, everything here and lose the game. They're going to go balls out, get there, attack the football like they were the whole game. And with the other offensive minds that he's had to work with Kansas City too as well, I think he's found enough too that could be pretty good coordinators for this squad too. Because when you talk about Joe Shane and Brian Daboll, right? Shane didn't like him, but Brian Daboll did too. And you see what Jackson Dart is. You can't hide the talent. He's a talented quarterback. So one, you already have the quarterback. You do, right? So
Yeah.
you got it in place. So this coordinator can't really screw it up so much as what even they just did. I feel like they can take this offense with a healthy Neighbors. They get another weapon here within that organization. And, on offense, healthy Scadaboo. You still got Tracy. And let's see what this offense could do under something similar to even what the Chiefs offense might have been. That's something I would be intrigued by if Spagnuolo was the choice for the head coach moving forward. And if not, maybe somebody else with a little more head coaching experience.
Be wary what you ask for as far as more head coaching experience.
Well,
I know from experience as a Raiders fan,
Joe.
but that's what we always go for. As they always go for experience over the modern day next up and coming coordinator. And that's what I think teams need to concentrate on going forward. The Giants are the same way. The Giants did take a shot, though, to be fair. They took a shot with Brian Daboll. He was a up and coming offensive minded guy from the Buffalo Bills. They rolled the dice and they got him, and things looked good real early on. Then they faltered, and here we are. Daboll's fired from the Giants. So for the New York Football Giants, going into this offseason, this is the offseason that you want to be a team looking for a potential head coach and future staff, because there is a large list of individuals that are going to be coming up for head coaching vacancies, that are going to be talked about for coordinator vacancies. And at the top of it, you got to think about Cliff Kingsbury, who was involved last year in a couple head coaching interviews, but didn't end up picking either one of the teams, or just simply didn't get offered enough money to take it over. But he's a guy that's going to be on the tips of everybody's tongues come the offseason when it comes time to hire. Joe Brady's another one. Joe Brady is an offensive-minded guy that could go somewhere. So there's definitely no shortage of candidates for whatever team is out there, but it's just, man, it's so hard to pick. Who do you think is your best job on trying to figure out who works best for your team going forward and whatnot, what you want to develop more, offense or defense, and go from there? Because I'll tell you right now, if you don't get it right the first time, you don't get it right the second, third, or fourth time, you got to keep trying until you do.
Yeah, and we've seen that enough between our two franchises, Joe, to last a lifetime, right?
Raiders aren't done yet either. I'm still waiting on the Pete Carroll gets fired.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see who ends up being one and dones or whatnot. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I got an interesting season moving forward. So let's talk about the Bills, Joe. The Bills fall off the wagon. You talk about circle the wagon. Again, they're like the Oregon Trail, and they need 2 oxen to fix their damn wagon right now. After a big win against the Kansas City Chiefs, they fall back to back, and they lose to a Mike McDaniel Miami Dolphins team, to where it looked like, again, they had given up, and then they've fought the last 2 weeks here, and they'd come out with a big victory against the Bills. What really was more telling, that loss, about the Bills.
I will say this. One, it was a divisional game. These divisional games are so flip-flopped. It doesn't matter what status each team is in, whether a winning team or a losing team. These things happen. I mean, look at the evidence that is Exhibit A of Thursday night's football game, the Broncos and the Raiders. That was not only one of the worst games to ever watch this season, but also it showed a lot about both teams. It showed that, okay, well, the Raiders can't score points. And then even though they might be able to play defense sometimes, the Broncos, they struggled immensely on offense. They didn't struggle on defense, but offense seems to be the problem. So, and that was a divisional game, and it stayed close to the end. Now, the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills, I got to say, I mean, they couldn't figure out how to attack the Dolphins defense and what works best, what doesn't work. Because we've said this once before, Jim, Josh Allen is so relied upon on that offense that if they can't get the running game going, then, and they are struggling with getting the football out to their quarterbacks, this team's dead in the water. We already know that the defense is still lacking. They're injured. I get it all. But to go into Miami, face the Dolphins, which is a team, mind you, that they should have easily came away with a win from. I got to give credit where credit's due. Listen, Mr. McDaniels, killing it, still on offense. The guy still knows his stuff. We've told you guys before 2 years ago, electric. Like, you're not going to get rid of this guy. The real thing is that now Tua, for whatever reason, Tua and this Dolphins offense has finally turned into the offense that we were hoping to see week 1. They figured something out. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the puzzle they figured out, but they figured that out and it's working. And then that in turn feeds the defense, and they were playing, like you said, balls to the wall. They were playing out of their minds. They're playing physical and way more physical than Buffalo.
Mhm. Yeah, and when I looked at that team again in Buffalo, it's kind of what we've been saying all year about the Buffalo Bills, right? They're a good team, but they're not the best team. They're not the great team. And I feel like they've almost kind of listened to the hype themselves a little too much, right? Everybody talked about how great they were, and they're got to be destined to be the Super Bowl champions this year. It's their turn, it's their time. And I think they kind of believe that. They fought hard against the Chiefs team and like, this team we need to beat. This has been the bump that we need to get through.
Right.
Especially that's what these guys over here tell us, and these guys over here tell us. We beat the hell out of them. And then they've got these other next couple of teams that they should beat, like you talk about. And they get knocked in the freaking face. They're not even ready. They're like, whoa, hey, what's going on? And they're making mental errors. And it leads back to the fact that we've had questions when we talked about this with Rodrik too. In the beginning of the season, who's going to step up? The Bills, do they need to get this? Do they need to get that? The trade deadline was here, and good teams make moves. Teams that want to push, do that extra bit to make the push, especially when you feel it's your time, especially when you feel like you've got every other team in the AFC on the ropes right now. Time to make a move, go all in, and go get the championship. We saw the Colts trade away 2 number 1 draft picks. They're all in. They look great. You've seen the Eagles. They're always making moves. They make a move here. They get Jalen Phillips. What he just did last night, making an impact right away. Baltimore Ravens always make moves. The Bills, crickets. And this is what we're looking at again. Same old stuff, same old story, same old Sean McDermott. And it's all Josh Allen put everything on his back. And they're, again, you talk about window closing. This truly could be it if they do not make a move.
Here's the thing is before the trade deadline, they actually were on the phones. They were trying to find a wide receiver, a playmaking wide receiver that was available that they could go after and make a trade happen. Now, I don't know what the conversations were in detail, but I do know that the Buffalo Bills did in fact call the New Orleans Saints about not Rashid Shaheed, but Chris Olave, his availability. And they were open to trading him. However, it was going to cost more than what they gave up for Rashid Shaheed. So because of the steep asking price, the Bills ended up turning, to a different direction. They've called a few other teams. I believe they even called the Raiders about Jacoby Myers, but never got a deal done. The Jaguars jumped in on that whole deal. So the Bills came up short, honestly. Like they came up short at the trade deadline. They did try to make a move. It just never ended up a good thing for them in the end. Never could consummate a deal. So I don't blame them for the lack of trying. I think it's a little too late though, Jim, isn't it? Why are we waiting until trade deadline to make some moves that we saw? I'm just going to say we were looking at this roster in the offseason, after the draft, after free agency. We're like, what are a couple weaknesses with this team that they really need to bolster before the season starts? Wide receiver was number 1 on the list. They no longer had Stephon Diggs. Why aren't you going out and getting an wide receiver, whether it be trade or even trying out a free agent that's available? Something. Do something. And we did not see that. Also, linebackers. Guess what? Linebackers got hurt this year. Matt Milano, once again, is hurt this year. You have no reliable guys to come in and take over for them. Where was that part, too? Where was all the depth questions that they never answered for? So all of this could have been avoided for the Buffalo Bills had they taken care of it in the offseason.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, that's what I'm talking about. Again, you've got some aging players that have jumped on. You need help at defense. Look what the Cowboys did. Other people making moves around you. And if you truly feel like you got to go all in, you go in. If you have that shot, if you have that chance, and you talk to fans all the time, you have this one shot to get that one Super Bowl, you go for it. Bills have been to 4 and lost all of them. Bills fans, Bills Mafia is, they're begging for a Super Bowl right now. It's been there. It has been there. And you don't go in. Like I said, you might have had conversations. They couldn't get the deal done. Do what it takes to get the deal done.
Right. My thing is, unless they're over asking for the player, my thing is with Chris Olave, yes, he's still young in his prime, but he is kind of often injured. So it's like, you're rolling the dice regardless. What were they comfortable with? Were they comfortable giving up a second rounder and maybe a middle round pick? If so, just do it. You're pushing your chips to the middle of the table because, my friend, in Buffalo, they're getting a little tired of like being the so-called competition or contender, but falling short every single year. So you better make some drastic moves because the window of opportunity is right here. You have Josh Allen. You have a good offensive line, good running back. You got the recipe. You just need to finish the ingredients to get the end result you want.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so moving up to one of the next topics here, headlines that's topping the NFL right now. Joe Burrow, the Bengals open up his 21-day window here. The window is open, a team to where, again, it's been up and down. That's what I mean. You started off, pretty hot, like, holy moly, the Bengals beat, and won a team against a team that they should have early on. So they're starting off hot. Has the turf toe issue here, out for multiple weeks. Jake Browning not looking so good. So Cleveland, again, dumbass move. Rodrik's never seen anything like that. We talked to Rodrik David earlier. He's like, yeah, the Cleveland thing, maybe. That's all you can say, right? And now, where this division, Pittsburgh, it was all there for them. And they're squandering wins, things like that. The other night looked terrible. Again, couldn't get it done. And it wasn't Rodgers' fault again. And I know Rodgers takes credit or, this and that for being older and this and that, but he's washed up. He was still making some plays in the pocket. The defense did their work on that, and knowing that he steps up and making those plays there too with the Chargers, but his offense did not help at all. You know what I mean? Drop passes, this and that. Yeah, I don't know if it was Calvin Austin that had one right in his hands, tipped right out of his hands and waited for an interception.
Yes,
I mean, he was putting it where it needed to be and just couldn't get done. And to wrap it up here, again, the window's been open. Bengals still kind of in the mix. So now they're kind of like, well, nobody really took off with this division at all yet. Oh, how you feeling? You've been hanging around the sidelines and everything like that. You think you might be able to come back? Well, yeah, we'll see what happens. So the potential for him to come back in this division still in limbo is very interesting. It makes it a lot interesting now that Joe Burrow potentially come back here.
Yeah, and it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when for Joe Burrow. They've already, like you said, they opened the 21-day window to, at some point bring him back to the active roster. And that means that he is healthy. That he is healthy enough to start to work his way back. Now, they are pushing it back. They're not starting him this week. They're not starting him next week. It looks like the week after is what the projected date is to bring him back on the active roster, take over his starting position, and let's go. Because in this division, just like we spoke with Rodrik earlier in the show, and if you haven't seen that interview, guys, you got to check it in. When we post this video, make sure you check it out. Rodrik David, former scout, knows his stuff. A lot of good stuff there. But this division was kind of like, the Pittsburgh Steelers were taking off with it. They had a big lead. They were doing things. Then they lost, and they lost again, and then lost again. And now it looks like this division, which once was like, well, it's kind of getting away from the rest of these teams. Now the Cincinnati Bengals are 3-6. They are 2 games out of first place in the division. So they are actually primed, and they are right in the hunt still for this division. Just like another team that we kind of were like, oh man, is this it for Baltimore? They were 1-5 to start the season, and now they're right back in the hunt at 4-5. So this division race is going to go right down to the end. And now with Joe Burrow returning, man, I like the odds. I really do like the odds. The trade for Joe Flacco, now you're able to bring Joe Burrow, and you don't have to rush it. Like, Joe Burrow can come back when he is really ready. This team really simply could end up number 1 in the division by the end of the year.
I don't think so, Joe. Yeah, I mean, you look at that defense. I talk about my Giants and the giving up, comebacks and stuff like that. It's the same thing. We talked about this with Rodrik again, too. Joe Burrow comes back. We get that. But he can still put up points and put up 40-some points. Joe Flacco did that one of these games, and they still lost the game. This defense is that bad. You know what I'm saying? And they don't have Wilson anymore now, too. So, like, what are you bringing to the table here?
But remember, they're still banged up on the defensive side. They don't have either one of their pass rushing stars, for one. For two, they're still a little bit beat up on the back end. And I'll tell you right now, like, if Joe Burrow comes back, this is going to revitalize this team. It's going to fire the team up enough to where some of these guys that are banged up are going to be working even harder to get back on the football field to help them out. So, I don't put anything by them. I think it's very possible with Joe Burrow back and this offense as healthy as they can get on defense, they might have a shot. They got a legit shot. I mean, you got other teams like the Steelers struggling now. They weren't struggling before. Now they're struggling. They're starting to trip up a little bit. The Ravens are right in with grasp, reach. So anything can happen as we get to the end of the season.
Yeah, and then but they also had Lamar Jackson injured, and that was your time to strike, I feel like, too, but now he's back. And he's only gonna get better, and they're getting healthier too on that one. So either way, like you're talking about too, it's gonna be tight at the end here. I still think Cleveland, they're gonna just be, at the bottom again. They're still feeling it out what they've got in Dylan Gabriel and Pittsburgh. Yeah, I think they're still in the mix. But what team are you getting
Absolutely.
every week? You know what I'm saying? So I think it's a 3-team battle there, and we'll see what happens if Joe Burrow comes back again. God help it. I hope he stays healthy. I mean, that's all I'm saying. I would hate for him to just bring him back when he's got an opportunity and just for him to get banged up or injured again, because that's been the story, nonstop for him. So let's move on now to some of the teams here. Let's take a look at this past week here, because we didn't really get to talk about any of the games and stuff too, moving forward and doing our picks. There's a couple different upsets, Joe. Is there any particular game that really kind of surprised you this week?
You know what? I was very intrigued with last night's game, Eagles and Packers. There was a lot of opportunity for the Green Bay Packers to kind of take over that game, and put it right out of reach. You know what I mean? That for whatever reason, the Packers majorly struggled. Something else that I noticed about Jordan Love is as much, praise we give Jordan Love for doing well this year and whatnot. There's a ton of evidence out there now, tons of film that proves it, that Jordan Love continues to struggle with pressure. And it might not be pressure that like, oh, they're just going to sack him. No, it's just pressure in general. As soon as he feels the pocket start to collapse, he at times, not all the time, but at times starts to panic, starts to pull his eyes down instead of looking down the field continually. There was several opportunities for wide receivers that came wide open to get rid of the ball right before the pressure gets there. And instead of standing in there and delivering that ball, knowing that you may get hit, he instead put his eyes down, started to try to find a way to get out of the pocket, and it failed. That was a very close game. I thought it was going to be a close game, but I thought that's something that the Packers, I was surprised to see them kind of falter a little bit there.
Yeah, I mean, that's something for me too, because again, I'm watching that game, and I don't know how you said that game's intriguing. I thought that game was freaking boring as hell, but I do like defensive games, and don't get me wrong.
I love the defense. That was the epitome of it.
But some of it I think on Green Bay side was defensive, and they're holding the Eagles, which I thought was impressive. I think the Packers and what they were doing was just turning the ball over and just dumbass mistakes, the things that they were doing and killing themselves, shooting themselves in the foot. The fumble on Josh Jacobs and Jordan Love, again, when it comes down to it, we've talked about lack of receivers or this and that, blah, blah. He has talent there, and he's not living up to the bill to where we're looking at Jordan Love now, and we're trying to gauge him. Like you said, out of all the talk that we've had about Jordan Love being this, doing that, I like how he's cool, calm, and collecting this and this. Right. Is he just average now at this point? Because I'm looking at him, and it seems like he's declined. And yes, he's still got that same demeanor, but it seems like there's just nothing there. He's kind of just like, he could go with it or leave it. He could go with it. There's no fire. There's no like, oh, that's on me or this or getting everybody fired. And some people lead in a different way, and I get that. 100%. But I just think that he's kind of declining at this point, and he's not that guy we were expecting to kind of take this Green Bay franchise over after a Brett Favre and then an Aaron Rodgers and things like that.
I think for Jordan Love, I think the jury's still out on him. I'm not really ready to just all of a sudden after one bad game or whatever to like just kind of stamp it and say, no, yeah, he's not what we thought he was. It's time to move on from Jordan Love. No, I think Jordan Love is definitely the starter for Green Bay. I think he plays well, to be honest. Like overall, he does play well. There are moments and times when he plays against certain defenses that he will struggle against, and that was very noticeable against Philly's very high pressure defense. But then there's also the miraculous times that Jordan Love shows, and he's like throws over 300 yards and has 4 touchdown passes, and it's like, all right, now we're cooking. But we just need to see a more consistent Jordan Love is what it is. Is right now it hasn't been all put together for Jordan Love. He hasn't been able to kind of stand in, staring down the barrel of the gun and make those throws, because he's going to have to do that on a consistent basis if he wants to help get this team to the Super Bowl and win it at some point. So the jury's still out for me on Jordan Love, but again, you couldn't have liked what you saw against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I was blown away because even I was so busy on Sunday too with a lot of stuff going down. I missed a couple of the early games, and then I'm watching just the scores come up, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? I'm like, damn. It's not just that the fact that my Giants. I was listening to that game on the radio, and I'm like, all right, we've got it. And then I even said before I go into visiting my mom at the hospital, and I was with my sister, and I'm like, it's 20-10. I'm like, the Giants can still screw it up. Here we go. And then again, I was in the hospital, and then I start to look up, and I look up at the TV or something like that. I'm like, they lost 24-10, or 24-20. I'm like,
I knew it.
I'm like, what? Come on, man. Like, what the heck are we doing here?
I know.
So,
I know it.
Yeah, I know. But the Bills, I think, was one that kind of shocked me here, I guess.
I'll give you two more. I'll give you two more that I'm a little surprised about.
Yep.
How about the Jets beating the Browns?
Yeah.
I thought for sure that the Browns were going to beat the Jets, and the Jets somehow figured out a way to win. And then the Saints and Panthers, to me, was really baffling because, obviously the Panthers have been a roller coaster of a team. They've played well against good teams, and then they play like crap against bad teams and whatnot. But now you have an opportunity against the New Orleans Saints to where they're another team that has been faltering. And now they have a recent quarterback change with rookie Tyler Shook, who comes in there and looks like Joe Montana slinging the rock. The Carolina Panthers
secondary falling down,
Panthers, and they do on paper have a really good defense, but they did not show it in that game. They were leaving a lot of guys open, and the Panthers on offense was a head scratcher. I was expecting Rico Dowdle to run through this defense and have its way with it, and then Bryce Young to capitalize off the run game, but we didn't see that either. Instead, we saw turnovers made by Bryce Young. We saw the team struggle in like almost every category, and the Saints capitalized. Got to give kudos to the Saints for not only making that tough decision, changing the quarterback, but then Tyler Shook to come in as a rookie in limited fashion, go in there and sling the rock like he did. The Saints kind of compounded on that on defense, and they stole a win away, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt the same way too. And when you look at I think it was Parcells, you are what your record is. They are the epitome is what you are what your record is, right? 5 wins, 5 losses, and you look at those wins and you're like, holy crap. Like they really put it to and look at the competition they beat. And then you look at the losses and you're like, what the frig did they do? Like they beat themselves. They just lost. Like terrible. Right. And it's like, you are in the middle because we don't know again. We still don't know if you're really that good. Sometimes you're good. Yeah. Sometimes you're just very bad. And so it's very, very disturbing here with the Carolina. Don't know. Like I even went with them on this week because I felt at home. They looked really good, playing well. A struggling Saints team. And
they were home.
Never done.
And they were home.
Yeah.
That was like the other part of it. It's like, and they were home, like didn't have to travel.
Right. And I think one of the matchups here to focus on too is Tampa Bay and New England. And what about New England really showing up and showing out? That is a dangerous team moving forward. And when we talk about the Buffalo Bills and what their struggles they're doing, they can't be doing things like that, losing those key losses here, to teams that they should beat when you've got a team that's hungry under Mike Vrabel right now, who's been to the promised land multiple times. He knows what he's doing here, coaching these guys. Drake May's playing outstanding right now. Stephon Diggs, you talk about him no longer being on the Bills. Well, he's over there on the Patriots. He's making toe tag flag, all over again. And he's happy, so he's ready to play them again. And they beat them last time they played. So they cannot screw around in this division because Patriots, they're rocking and rolling, man. And they're the team to beat right now so far.
Can we honestly just plant the flag right now as this podcast definitely saying that Mike Vrabel is the coach of the year? Can we just
down
say
on your
that?
knees and tell me you love me?
Because let me tell you, this guy in one offseason. Now, if you remember, if obviously if you're a Patriots fan, you remember last year the absolute dumpster fire that was the New England Patriots last year. No real leadership, no direction. The coaching staff that they had in place just was in over their head, to now a year later, they got a new coach. They bring Vrabel back to the New England area, make him the head coach. He brings in his staff. And in one offseason, via free agency, via draft, has completely rebuilt the defensive side and the offensive side. And now look at the evidence. Look at the results right here. They are leading the division right now, and by a big sum. And I got to say, you do that in 1 year. Let's mail him the trophy right now. Like, let's just make it happen.
Right. Because if you look at other people that could possibly be in that conversation, right? You're talking about Shane Steichen. They're 8-2. Colts look outstanding. But how much credit does he get for that? Is it him? They got the quarterback there. And look at the difference. Maybe that was all they needed. Is it all him? And then besides that, I'm looking at maybe Seattle, Mike McDonald as the other potential head coach of the year. Just because, again, they kind of had a down year last year, and Gino not looking as well, but now coming back. So
was that because of Gino?
No. Well, we kind of saw maybe it was the beginning of the end, and that's why when we talked about it, when he moved on to the Raiders, you're like, well, you're hoping you're getting the Gino from 2 years ago, not this last year.
Right.
And it looked like you kind of got the guy from last year. I was pulling for your team, Joe. I was watching that game against Denver, and I was just like, and they had every opportunity too.
I think we got the worst version of Gino. I think we got the Gino from the New York Jets.
Yeah.
That's the one I think we got.
Yeah. It was true. It did not look good. But yeah.
Regardless, what a crazy NFL week we've had. And it doesn't seem, it's not going to stop. It's going to continue to fall off the rails. So stay tuned. Buckle your chin strap, Blitz Nation, because it's going to be a rough one.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe, tell these guys too, as we head up out of here, how they can subscribe to the show.
Real simple. Head over to the Grumblings Media channel for us. Hit that subscribe button. Lock yourself in. Become part of the nation. And also, while you're there, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. It does allow the algorithm of YouTube to kind of further spread out our channel and our shows. And also, don't forget to tell a friend to tell a friend. Share it, and we love you for it. See you in the next one.
All right, see you guys.
Hey everybody, this is Big John from Grumblings Media, and I just want to say thank you for watching our content. If you want to support our efforts here at Grumblings Media, just smash the subscribe button right here, totally free, or just go ahead and consume more of our great content. Click either one of these two boxes.